I'm going to open this evening with a prose poem entitled Timeline. When I was 18 once, and this was years and years ago in the future, I witnessed my own timeline fracture. I saw it snap, easily and with a crack, the way you'd crush a peanut shell in your fist. It happened on the Lionsgate Bridge in Vancouver on a Saturday afternoon. I was speeding across the bridge in a pickup truck, sat between Colin Maishment and a man I didn't know, a Polak. I had no shoes on, I did before. They were black Converse sneakers with white toes, but they'd been left back at Colin Maishment's basement apartment suite in New Westminster when the two of them dragged me across the front lawn around 3 p.m. and forced me into the truck. As an aside, my parents almost died on this same bridge 2 decades earlier. My father drunk, blitzed, worked up into a frenzy, deliberately steering his mint-condition 57 Chevy into the guardrail, saying conversationally to my mother, "I'm going to kill this car." And today I actually see this unfold. I crawl over Colin Maishment's lap to stick my head out the window like a dog and see them there, the next car over. My father so young and no scar on his forehead, his eyes uneasy and red, dead ringer for my little brother's eyes years and years and years later. Here's where the timeline starts getting agitated. "Slow down," screams my mother. "Get her back in her seat," screams the Polak. Colin Maishment turns on the radio. It's not clear what century, just a shit pop song. Hours, seconds, and still we're speeding across this bridge. The slick white lines on the pavement rise up parallel to the window of the truck. Flash, flash as we go. And on these lines in golden sunlit ink are printed every detail of my life and loves. Every strand of my DNA clear. Every isotope of my solitude from age 0 to 100. All the photographs I've ever taken, ever will. MP3s of every orgasm that's ever come crushing out of me. The broken down chemical components of every drug to splash through my bloodstream. Every kiss, every tax return, every full moon alphabetized. It's like a bastardized version of the Lamb's Book of Life, spliced with the Akashic records, scrawled in spray paint over the graves of my grandchildren, the baby bonnets of my grandparents. Colin Maishment keeps yanking my hand back into the window saying, "Don't touch that line, you'll smear the paint," which upsets me because it means he sees it too, and therefore, potentially, it's real. This is where I look up into the sky and lose sight of my parents in the chariot of doom that my father wanted to destroy. Their 2 souls subcontracted with it, a primordial deal they don't yet remember. I see in the firmament my white painted timeline, crazed as a thunderbolt, threading itself through the suspension cables of the Lionsgate Bridge, and snap, there it goes, and snap, the bridge, it's falling, my whole world crumbling down like a sandcastle of pills in the tide. There is nothing, there is no one, there is no past, there is no help, only rogue sunlight, rays of flashing white searing through the cab of the truck. The Polak is not a friend, and Colin Maishment's eyes have changed color. He is no one I have ever seen. And the sky and the ocean merge with the pavement, and my heart turns cold and metal as it sucks into itself the dial on the radio and the sacred geometric soundscape of a pop song that will forever after play just beyond my earshot in shopping malls and taxi cabs and swimming pool locker rooms every Saturday afternoon until the day I die. I have never existed. My timeline hijacked, snapped, myth. I want to call my little brother glass bottle omniverse. Even when we get to the hospital with the wheelchairs and the electronic doors and the nurses, I cannot accept that the walls are concrete and the floor is linoleum. I realize, adrenaline melting, that there are no telephone numbers or individuals attached to them. There's no rescue team, there's no way out. The exit sign's reptilian, useless, scaled over in brown. The Polak sits silent on an orange plastic seat. Colin Maishment collapsed like potatoes or apples beside him. I tremble in my sock feet a little to the left, aware that my own face, eyelashes, and pulse are reprehensible elements of the same whole facade. Snakes writhe around the perimeter of this waiting room. I am the only one not bleeding. And now, tonight, all these years before, later, in the present, grown up, educated, employed, and culturally sedated. My timeline is still severed in two lost pieces, and the music of conversation that I export and import day in and day out never sounds precisely actual. Thanks.